Hello and welcome to Ode to Games. I'm Kevin Valine, joined alongside Logan Plant. How you doing, Logan?
Doing well, Kev.
I'm doing good too because we are finally going to be able to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Our spoiler
Woo!
cast took
Yes.
forever. I
Yeah.
didn't even end up going to a theater to see it. I had
No.
to see it at a friend's house, but I
Dang.
saw it and we're finally going to be able to talk about it. We've also got a couple little news tidbits to get to, but it's kind of nice to have a slower news week. I feel like the last couple
I
weeks there's been
know.
a lot to talk about, so it's a little bit calmer this week. Let's get into that first little bit of news. The Last of Us TV series, not to be confused with The Last of Us Part 1 or The Last of Us Part 2 or its multiplayer. The TV series got its first trailer and it looks good. You know, we knew going in that this is going to be a retelling of the first game, so take that for what it is. But you know, you see some of the opening shots from the game in this. You see some stuff from the DLC Left Behind in there.
Mm-hmm.
Some really nice shots. I thought it looked good. I mean, again, for me, it's not that big of a pull because I have played that game, but I was pleasantly surprised by this trailer. I thought it was good.
Yeah. No, I am excited about the show. I really like Pedro Pascal. He's in that Nick Cage movie that came out earlier this year. He's really good in that, and I've seen him in a couple other things. And yes, he's the Mandalorian. I don't like the Mandalorian though. So I was excited about his casting as Joel. I thought he looked really good in the trailer. I thought all the characters looked, pretty cool, like what you would expect them to look like in live action from the game. But for me, it is just the same thing, like you said, of like how many times like this isn't like the most groundbreaking revolutionary story of all time, but they seem to think we need to see it presented in like 5 different ways, and that for me is just getting a little bit old, which is frustrating as a big Last of Us fan. Like we talked about this very recently, how the series is just starting to feel a little oversaturated of just this one franchise alone. That being said, though, I did think that this looked like better than I expected it to, and I do think we're at a point where, I mean, we know it from the Sonic movie. A couple other things like video game adaptations can be good,
They're getting better, yeah.
but it's just like, yeah, who is this for? Because if you're a fan of the game, you've seen the story done, and if you aren't a fan, I'm not sure that this is like super going to stand out from like the likes of The Walking Dead or other zombie things. Like if you're a non-gamer who's like, what is this new thing? But I mean, it is an HBO show. Those always get a lot of draw anyways, just because of that reputation. So I'm sure it will be a hit. It's just, yeah, I'm just getting tired of them showing me Joel and Ellie going across the country again. I know what happens. I don't need to see it this many times.
I mean, especially when we just got part 1 very recently. I mean, we've already had that game re-released twice.
Yeah.
And now we have this. It does not push me in any way to go see it when I don't have an HBO subscription. Like, there's no desire to go see it. But I mean, there's probably a not insignificant group of people who watch things on HBO Max that don't really play video games that could get into the series through this. And I think that's what they're betting on.
Yeah.
And I could see people, if it does turn out to be a solid show, I could see people maybe stumbling across it who don't know what this is and getting really into it. And, you know, if CD Projekt Red has shown us anything, whether it's with Witcher or whether it's with the new Cyberpunk anime, that can really drive people to pick up those games again. And I think that they're really going to try and bank on that.
Right. And you said why, like we're seeing this so shortly after part 1 came out. Yeah, because part 1 is really for the people that are going to get into this show and then go buy part 1 after watching this show, is what I think. But for me, I love part 2 like significantly more than part 1 for The Last of Us. So I hope this show is a hit, which I'm sure it will be. And I'd love to see an adaptation of part 2, of which I'm not as tired of because it hasn't been re-released ever.
One game?
Yeah, it's one game. It hasn't been done to death. So I would like to see a season 2 that is that second game, or maybe since Neil Druckmann is so closely involved, maybe a second season that tells like a year in Jackson between 1 and 2 could be something interesting. Like, I don't really care about season 1 because I know what happens. I know what it's going to look like. Yes, I'll still watch it. I have HBO Max, so I will watch it. But I'm more excited to see where it goes from the end of part 1's cliffhanger, where they can either adapt part 2 or fill in some gaps between part 1 and part 2 and just make something different. Just after they get the part 1 adaptation out of the way, I just want to see what it's like in a season 2.
I would hope that if this one does well, that gives them more confidence to kind of go off the beaten path a little bit more. I mean, this is the safe play. They know that this is most likely going to work because people like the Last of Us Part 1 story. And so maybe if this one does really well, they draw people in. I would hope that they would feel like they could get a little bit more creative with the types of stories that they want to tell, not just, you know, a recreation of what the games do. But they could also go in the other direction of just doing the second game, which I could also see happening. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it looks good. I think it'll at the very least be a solid show. Yeah. And another way to experience that story. No. I mean, if there's enough stuff on HBO Max that I would want to see to just do a trial, I don't need another subscription service at this point, though, you know?
Yeah.
But if I got it for some reason for a trial of some sort, I'd probably give it a watch. But this doesn't push me to go and get a subscription or anything. I can just go buy the game.
Especially it's HBO Max is kind of a dumpster fire right now with them.
Oh yeah, they were it's destroying it with the animation department or the cartoons.
Everything. It's everything. Yeah,
except this apparently.
Except HBO like originals. It's kind of a disaster. Yeah.
Yeah. So I might avoid that.
Yeah.
In other games, jumping to film and TV, the Mario movie. This thing is upcoming spring of next year, and it's getting its first trailer on October 6th. This is going to be shown off at New York Comic-Con. God, I want to see the casting in action. I am morbidly curious of what this is going to look like, and I'm ready to see it. I'm ready.
Me too. I'm mostly just curious, like, what's it going to feel like having Mario talk? Because that's something that we're so adverse to in the games. Really, nobody talks. Princess Peach has voice acting in a lot of them. And then Super Mario Sunshine is weirdly the Mario game with the most voice acting. With, like, the Flood talks a lot and the weird like court scene at the beginning. Yeah, but like what's really it going to be like to have Mario talk and just be a main character in this thing? I think that's going to be interesting to see. Of course, Chris Pratt's been hyping up this voice he's doing. So what is that going to sound like? What's the art style going to look like? I'm sure it's just going to look like New Super Mario Brothers. Very safe. Probably will just look like what just you think Mario looks like.
Illumination does too. I mean, they have a pretty distinct way that they make movies. So I feel like they'll probably lean into that as well.
I'm excited for this movie, even if it's terrible. Like it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun if it's good or if it's bad. So yeah, I'm ready for it too. It's been such a mystery.
Yeah, they have not shown off really anything except that time that they were doing the casting, and it was absolutely hysterical. That's basically the only time that they've really done anything for it. Yeah, I think with this movie, if it's good, obviously it'll be good and it'll be enjoyable. If it's not good, I think it will be hilariously bad in some ways.
Yep. It's not just going to be, I don't know. I don't think it's just going to be average. Like, I think it's going to be like, yeah, that was a really great movie, or, oh my God. So either way, it's going to be a memorable experience.
Yeah. I'm here for either of those.
This has to be good, right? Like there's nobody that's like this.
Everything's riding on this.
No, nothing is. Like Nintendo's flying high. It's like if this was coming out in the Wii U era and it's like, okay, we need something to throw Nintendo back into the popular culture zeitgeist to be like, okay, all chips in on the Mario movie. But this is just like add-on. Like it could, I guess if it's really terrible, it could harm Nintendo's viewpoint on movies again, because after the original Mario movie, they're like, we're not making movies anymore. But they did just get that animation studio. So it's clear that they're like, definitely exploring this avenue in multiple ways. So it's not like this is going to be a one or done. I don't think. I think that we'll see more. Like I want to see something Zelda. I want to see like a
might be one and done with
animated Zelda series.
But
it might be. Yeah, it could be the end with which would be rough because they have this whole Universal partnership and Illumination and is Universal. So it's like, oh, if they just make a really crappy movie, but then still have this partnership for all their theme parks, that would be like awkward, but whatever.
What are you going to do?
What
are you going to do?
But they're making the Donkey Kong movie too, so it's not going to be one and done. It's going to be
one and done for Mario himself, I guess. I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh my God. So much to look forward to.
Uh-huh.
And last little bit of news is E3. It's
Yes.
coming back. Unless it gets canceled again, but let's hope it doesn't. So 2023, they're planning for it to be 4 days and they're splitting it up. So we've got 2 press days and 2 public days. I'm honestly surprised why they didn't do that before. I mean, beforehand, it was just press, really. And then within the last couple of years, I feel haven't they really opened it up
Yeah,
to the
so
public?
this was starting in 2018, they opened it up to the public and they had press hours. It was like the first 3 hours each day, except the last day. So the show started on Tuesday. It's like the floor opened at 9 a.m. and then the general public could get in starting at noon. So you had 3 hours, which, given how many people qualify for press, is still nothing. So,
Yeah.
man, this is great. I'm extremely excited about this event. I don't know how many people are going to, like, is Nintendo going to participate? Unknown, right? We don't know yet. But this is being ran by the same people that put on PAX, right? This is not just the ESA doing its thing. So all the leaked documents you heard about, like FOMO and that's gone. That's out the window. This is a new event. I actually know a couple of people that are working on putting this event together, and some people that were like pushing for these media days. Like this event's, I think, in really good hands. It's never going to be the big important show it once was, but this could be a really cool thing. I think this could be really good to have back in June, to have a thing people go to. Personally, I'm very excited about the press days because I will go and I will be there on the press days before the general public days because, wow, it was packed. It was packed. I waited 3 hours to play Super Mario Odyssey for 10 minutes. Like, oh my God. It was insanely packed. And Nintendo had a better system kind of the next year in 2018 where media could sign up to play Smash Brothers Ultimate and the public had to wait in this other queue. So you could kind of like skip a huge chunk of the line, kind of like a fast pass at Disneyland. So that was better. But just having the business days and the gamer days taking place in a separate hall to the business days, like already I'm like, this sounds better than E3 was when I was there, when it was already starting to crumble a little bit. So no, I'm positive on this. It's easy to dunk on E3 with everything we've seen, but like this is under new hands, new management. So I think it could be a really good thing.
I'm surprised they didn't do this sooner. TGS does the same thing where they start with the 2 press days and those are on the weekdays. So it's easier for the press to come there because that's their job. And then you have the public days on the weekends and everyone can come out and try and play the games. I think it's a great way to do it. I think TGS has success with it and I think it'll work out really well for E3. 3 hours is not enough to get through everything. You need those couple of days just completely separate. And I think that kind of just helps everyone because then you can get into a focus for certain things. If you're someone who is showing off your game there, you can be ready for press or you can be ready for the public. Those are 2 different things that you have to, show your game off to. I feel like that's going to help everybody to be ready for either press or public, whether you're attending or whether you're showcasing something.
Yeah, so I hope that everyone gets back involved. I hope that Nintendo does a direct on that Tuesday. I hope they have a big booth. They go to PAX, right? They go to PAX West. That isn't their stomping grounds in Seattle. Like they're in Redmond, they're right there. But I would hope they have a big booth because that's the coolest part, man. Like New Donk City, like they built New Donk City the first year I was there. And they had just these amazing giant statues of like a stack of 10 Goombas with the Mario one on top. And like Mario is a tank and the Odyssey itself was in the center. And it was just, there was like a crazy cap store on the side, like where you got a free little like cappy hat. Like it's just so cool to be in there. That was the best part of E3. When I went, Sony was starting to back out a little bit. Like the second year I was there, they didn't really even have any games there. They just had this giant area that was like a screen where you could watch the trailer for like, God, I think it was Last of Us Part 2. And it was just running on loop 8 hours a day.
Oh, God.
And it's like, wow, they're not going to be here next year. And then they weren't. That was the last year they were there. Yeah.
That's about as quiet quitting. That's pretty loud quitting, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're doing the bare minimum here.
Yeah.
We're not going to be back.
So yeah, I'll be there. I'm planning to go. I'm planning to go to this event next year and see what it's about. Because, yeah, I went 17, 18. 19 was the last year it existed where I did not go. So yeah, I'm excited about it coming back.
So look forward to that. That's June 13th through 16th. And that's it for news.
Woo!
That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
We want to get into a quick what we've been playing before the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 spoiler cast. Logan, what have you been up to in the past week? What have you been playing? Is it just the same two games?
Same old. Yeah, so the Splatfest was this last weekend.
Right.
What would you bring to a deserted island for Splatoon 3? Gear, grub, or fun? I picked Team Gear, and it was a ton of fun. I played a ton of the Splatfest for multiple hours on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The biggest problem I had was they had those new tricolor turf wars. I tried to match into those for the entire second day of the Splatfest. Like, it opened up 5 p.m. Saturday, Splatfest ended 5 p.m. Sunday. And it does this thing where if it can't queue you into a tricolor, it doesn't just end matchmaking. It throws you into a normal Splatfest turf war. So you're still contributing, you're still playing. It's just kind of saying, like, if you can, throw me into the tricolor. If you can't, you still get to play a normal Splatfest match, which is nice. But I got one tricolor turf war.
There's just not enough to go around, I guess.
And it became clear why after, because Team Gear has 58% of the players in this Splatfest, and then the other two teams each had about 21%. So Team Gear was by far the most popular team, which explains, because we were in second place heading into the tricolors, which means that the lead team, which was Grub at the time, got 4 people, and then Fun and Gear each got 2 people. So you're competing with 60% of the pot of the players on Team Gear to queue into a match that needs half the people you normally need. So I only got one. So maybe on the next Splatfest, I won't be on the team that's as popular, and I'll be able to try out the tricolor a little bit more, because I don't even really have impressions of them, because I played one match and was a little confused on how it all worked, because I only had one match to figure it out. It was cool though, but yeah, I was mostly just doing normal matches. But it was really fun. It was a good time. I like, again, how they split it up, where if you're playing with friends, you do it in one lobby. If you're playing alone, you do it in another. So you're not playing with like 4 randoms against a team that's cooperating together. So that's super nice. I had like the most exhilarating moment, right? There's 10 times battles, 100 times battles, and super rare 333 times battles. So if you win one of those, you get like 10 wins or 100 wins or 333 wins instead of 1. So it's like a huge deal to win.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Oh my God.
And so the way you do it, you earn clout for playing. You earn more clout if you win. The more clout you have, the more likely you are to be matched into a 10 times. The more 10 times you have won, there's like a little icon that keeps track throughout the Splatfest of how many 10 times battles you've won. You're likely to be matched into a 100 times. And then if you win a 100 times, you have a chance to get matched into 333. So basically, it's like you're playing the Splatfest. If you're not good at the game, they're not going to throw you in a 10 times. But if you are good at the game, you'll work your way up to these ones that matter. So it's kind of a cool way where, yes, everyone contributes, but if you're a really good player, you have a chance to contribute more. And the Splatfest ended at 5 p.m. on Sunday. And I was playing with my girlfriend. We were in a lobby together, and it was 4:58, and we're like, okay, we have time for one more. We get thrown in. It's a 100 times battle, our first one of the entire Splatfest. And we're like, oh my gosh, there's so much pressure. It was the most intense match of Splatoon I've ever had, and we won by 2%. And we walked off the Splatfest with a 100 times battle victory, and it was like, it would have been such a devastating, not fun way to end the Splatfest
if you lost that.
So for those 4 people on the other side, I'm sure they did feel that way. But yeah, we ended up contributing like 155 wins or something like that to Team Gear and like 25 losses. We had a really, really good Splatfest. And then Team Gear won. My team won the thing. So yeah, just a super fun event. Yeah, I'm 40 hours deep into Splatoon 3. I love it so much. And the Splatfest was a ton of fun. And I'm excited for the next one. Yeah, it was cool. I just wish I had played more of the tricolor, because I was looking forward to that, and I was just on the team that had too many people.
Yeah, and so that's exclusive to the Splatfest at this point?
Yes, it is. Yes, okay. It's only in the Splatfest.
Yeah, that's a little annoying. I mean, because that was kind of one of the big new things that they were showing off, and that depending on which team you pick, it may be significantly harder to get into one of those. But I mean,
I would say that they should make the tricolor Splatfest the only thing on the final day, but I think a lot of people don't like the tricolor from what I've seen. There's people that are like, I just want normal turf war. And so I guess they want to leave that option open for those people. But I wish there were more people matching into the tricolor. But yeah, the math is just tougher. You only need 2 people. I was competing with a ton of people that were on Team Gear. So yeah, but maybe I'll intentionally pick a team that has fewer people next time.
Just to try and get some play time in that.
Yeah. But yep, Splatoon going well, and then Xenoblade Chronicles 3 going well. Kevin, I texted you this story, but I want to tell it on the show anyway.
Pretty good story. made me chuckle a little bit.
So there's Xenoblade has these overworld bosses, right, that are optional, and they're like uniquely named, and when you kill them, they like leave a grave, and that grave turns into a fast travel point. And you can also like replay the battle to try and get a better time if you want. But they're really fun battles, right? They're super fun. Because most of the overworld battles, you're going to win, right? Like any JRPG, you're going to win. You just have to go through the motions of doing it. But these battles, you could lose. And so I'm level like 28, and I'm going against this level 30 overworld boss. And so he's above me, so he's going to be pretty tough to beat anyways. He's this giant like lizard dude. And I'm fighting him. And I get his health bar down to like a sliver on a chain attack. And my chain attack ends. And then he has this attack where he like kind of like a Dodongo in Zelda is kind of what he's closest to. He rolls into a ball and just charges at you. Or sometimes he just does it on all fours. And we're fighting on this cliffside. It's where he spawns. It's not like
it's always a bad idea in Xenoblade to fight enemies on the cliffside.
And I don't fall off. He just barrel rolls off the cliff. And I'm like, did I win? Because he was like probably 10 seconds away from death. And
was this one of the cliffs where it's like you're not falling on? It's not like you're falling onto a lower level. You just like fall off the map.
You're off the world,
right?
You fall off the world. Like if I had as Noah had jumped off, I would have died. Like you would just die and go load back into your last checkpoint. And then he just it takes like 20 seconds for him to respawn.
Oh, so you were just
I thought there. I won. I was like, but I didn't get experience. I didn't get class points. I didn't get the items. I don't see the grave. I'm like, oh my God, this fight took like 10 minutes. And then he just rolls back in. He respawns. He pops in with full health. And and then I died against him like 3 times. I had a really, really lucky fight. I had a really good chain attack. I don't know if you've gotten to that mechanic yet, but I've
done chain attacks in previous games. But
I don't know if I have no idea what's in previous games and what's not.
There are some chain attacks, yeah.
I had a really good chain attack.
You can get some
I had a really good battle. I got really lucky on a few things. People weren't going down. And then I lost this fight 3 times in a row. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to kill this guy. And then I finally won on the 4th time. And he almost did it again. Did
you see him like about to roll off the edge?
And I was like, dude, I did the thing where you can, if you hold ZL, you can like hit down on the plus pad and it's like follow the leader and like everybody groups up on you. I did that. I'm like, get just so his aggro is like edge.
Over to us.
Yeah. But that was just, it was a really funny moment, and I did eventually win the battle. And this was just like on the side path of this hero quest I'm doing right now. It's nowhere near where I'm supposed to be. I'm like clearing this region of the map of the exclamation points. And the quest I'm doing right now, Kev, I feel like I said this last week, but this one specifically, like I learned a new traversal mechanic from an optional hero quest. And it's like, so you don't need this to beat the game? Like you don't need to know how to do this?
Entirely necessary?
Yeah. It's just crazy. The hero quests are just absolutely main quest content. It's awesome. So yeah, I'm like 25 hours in now, I think. Yeah, so slowly chipping away.
Got so much more time. Yeah, they like elevation mechanic with battles sometimes gets a little weird. There was one section early on in Xenoblade 3. I haven't picked it up in a little while, but like you have to jump across this little crevice. It's like I can jump across it fine, but my teammates just drop like rocks. They can't make it across. And so then there's enemies on the other side. So I start fighting them. I hadn't realized that they didn't make it. So I start fighting. No one's behind me. It's just me fighting. I'm like, where are they?
I know the exact moment you're talking about. In like the first field, like after the first colony,
it just drops. It's like, all right, bye.
Yeah, there's a couple times where you'll like, I find a lot of the traversal in Xenoblade seeing how much you can cheese the cliffside. Like there'll be like a rocky, jagged cliffside, and you're like, yeah, there's a path way the heck over there, but I'm just gonna try and like eke
jump
my
up
way
to
up
like,
this. Yeah.
yeah.
And so I'll get up there as the character I'm controlling, which is pretty much always Noah. He's my favorite, so I'm him most of the time. I'm not right now because he's a defender, and I don't like playing as defenders in battle. So I get up there and I start fighting this enemy, and then my entire party is like going the long way around, hauling ass, trying to get up there.
We're coming.
Yeah, so that's super funny when that happens. But I'm in this thing for the long haul, man. I picked it back up after like 3 weeks off. I picked it back up, and I'm like, oh god, what are all of these systems? But I reacclimated myself, and I'm in this thing, man, till the end.
Gotta do it.
You got to get back into it.
I'm busy with some. I'll get back to it soon.
Yep. And then Red Dead 2, I picked back up for a little bit. That's the game I'm playing with my girlfriend right now that we're playing together, and I'm still the 3 games I'm talking about right now. I like love them all so much. Like they're all like top 25 game potential all time for me.
Really?
I love these games. Yeah, Red Dead 2. I had a hilarious moment where this dude comes up to me and he's like, "Please help me. My horse died. I just need a ride back into town." And I'm like, sure, I'll help, because I'm trying to get all the good honor scores. And then he's like, let's just cut to the chase. And then he shoves me off my horse. He jumps on my horse and he starts riding away. And I instantly just whip out the lasso and lasso him off my horse like a second later. Like he had no idea it was coming. And then I shot him in the head. I'm like, no, you're not. You blew it, man. You blew it. And he only had $1 on him. I guess he was desperate. But yeah,
$1.
Yeah, but
rich off that guy.
Had a funny mission where you have to, this drunken priest that you're supposed to escort him back to camp, and he's like freaking out, running all over the place, and he runs on the train tracks, and he gets his foot caught in the track, like it goes down into the track, and then it's like he like twists it so he can't lift it out, and then of course the train's coming down the tracks at you, and you have to like do a bunch of QTEs to get his foot out and shove him over, and then you barely save his life, and he's like, "Why'd you push me, man?" And I'm like, "Bro, come on." But
why? Yeah, you're like, "Why did I push you?" I don't know anymore.
Yeah. So it's a great time.
Nice. As for me, it's just Bear and Breakfast, and it's still good.
Have they updated anything yet?
No, I've been following them on Twitter. They said that they sent in an update to Nintendo for approval, and it has not dropped yet. God, do I want it out, because I have had many more crashes. So on my Switch timer clock thing, that's not super helpful. It's over 15 or over, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've crashed 8 or 9 times.
Oh boy.
Which is... So I've had 8 or 9 crashes, and I've had, what is it? A soft lock. So like I had a menu that would not go away. So like I was in like the building menu, and sometimes, you forget what button backs out of certain things because the menus are a little weird. And so like I pressed a couple button combinations, and then one of the like menu icons was just on the screen, and I could not remove it. So I had to quit and reload, and it takes a little while to load back in, which is unfortunate. But even with all of that, even when it crashes, I'm like, man, I just want to hop back in and play some more, which I think speaks to its quality. And they were talking on Twitter about how they want to get feedback from people about how to improve the game. And it's great, because I went on there to look for what people are recommending, on a lot of this stuff is stuff that I've been thinking about. That it's like, why isn't that in there? One of the things was every item has a monetary value. So like you look at the item, and it's like, okay, here it's worth 20 coins. You can't sell any of the items. So there's no point to the coin value, and you can't recycle them either. There's no recycle option. So the only thing that you can do if you need space is to throw it away, and you get nothing from that.
No, so, you got to be able to sell.
So in one of the drop downs, like, like selling items or recycling items, and it's something that they're going to try and work on, which is great. I'm glad that they're listening in on the feedback, because there are some things where it's like, why is that the case? Like even before I saw that, I was looking at it the other day, I'm like, why is there why, why is there a
Yeah.
monetary value? There's no point to that. But yeah, just the gameplay loop. I've gotten all of the areas now, and I've unlocked most of the rooms that you can build in, and it's just a really satisfying complexity that keeps on ramping up as you go along. But as you go along, it also gives you more ways to make managing your places easier. You know, it gives you characters to kind of do some of the jobs for you. You pay them the coins, and they'll take care of the stuff for you so that you can focus on other things, which is super nice, because it got to a point earlier on where I'm like, man, I'm taking so much time to get in new guests and do all this other stuff and cooking, and to have other characters to kind of do that. It gives you more time to focus on, building the rooms out and putting in all this other stuff that the game wants you to do. And yeah, it's just really satisfying balancing everything out and building all these different rooms. And there's still a bunch of quests that I need to do, and there's places that I haven't opened up yet that I'm curious what is in there. There's kind of this like dark foresty area with this cave that I haven't been able to find the keys yet for, but I'm looking forward to figuring out where those are and what that leads to. There's just like a lot of secrets still left to uncover. It's a good time. I'm enjoying it a lot.
It's awesome. It's only going to get better. So like if I ever
Yeah.
finally get around to this thing, it'll be in better shape. So that's exciting.
Right. Again, if you're not fully in on this type of game, wait for that first update, because the crashes are not great. They're pretty brutal, and they're pretty constant. So if they can patch that out and kind of fix the performance a little bit in certain areas, I think this game will be perfect for people to hop into. And then after that, it seems like they're just going to be adding a bunch more stuff on, which is super great.
Cool.
And yeah, it is such a satisfying feeling when you build the room out and then you put in the items and it just all fits exactly how you want it. It's like, here we go. This is perfect. I don't need to move anything. Like it's very satisfying to kind of put a floor together with all these different rooms and make it all kind of fit together and use up as much space as possible. It's a satisfying feeling.
That's cool.
One other thing I will say, though, that I want them to fix or add is that when you're building the rooms require certain furniture. So, for example, if you're building a bedroom, you need to put in a bed before you can say, okay, this is a bedroom, and open it up. But when you go into the room building menu, where you're dropping down the walls to drag out and build this room, you can't then go back into the crafting menu to craft the items. So if you didn't craft the bed before you went in and built the room, you have to back out of building the room, craft the bed, hop back in, and then do it. That's another thing that I'm hoping that they kind of fix. There's a lot of little things where I'm like, this isn't a deal breaker. It's kind of just like, oops, forgot to do that again. Build the bed and come back in and do it. But it's something that come 6 months from now, I hope that kind of all that stuff is in there and it's just a very streamlined experience.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. This is the dev's first game. So I can understand that some of this stuff kind of falls through the cracks. And then
especially in a game like this, there's so many little things to think about that when your game and you've built it, you just wouldn't necessarily think about. Even Stardew Valley, how much of a better place is that game? And then when it even first came out. Yeah.
These things take time, and I'm glad that they're very open to feedback and looking forward to the updates that are coming out, because it's already fun as it is, and it has some issues. So I'm looking forward to whatever comes next. And that's it. I've been dedicating my time to Bear and Breakfast, as well as Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yeah, finally.
Let's get into this. We are finally ready to do the Ode to Game Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie spoiler cast.
Spoilers for a movie that came out 5 months ago over here.
Do you remember any of it?
I was thinking last night, I'm like, gosh, maybe I needed to watch this again before this, but I think I remember enough of it. Yeah.
I mean, that means that it's memorable, right?
Yeah.
So let's get into it. We've got a couple of different points that we're going to be talking about here. I think the first one and the most pertinent one for this movie, especially in comparison to the last movie, is Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and kind of that combination of the three. Because in the first movie, it's just Sonic until the very end when you drop Tails in is kind of the foreshadowing for the next movie. But here it's Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and I'll say it outright. I think that is one of the reasons why this movie kind of one-ups the original, is just that combination of the three characters. I think it worked really well, and I'm glad that they brought them all together in this movie, because that kind of felt missing from the first one. As much as the first movie is a solid movie, I think that it's much better with a cast of Sonic characters, not just Sonic and a bunch of human characters.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I didn't really like Knuckles.
No?
I didn't really like Knuckles. There were parts of him I liked, but overall they played him up more on the dumb side, which in different iterations, he's sometimes he's like just very serious and kind of has thick skin. And in this one, and then like Sonic Boom is like the full opposite end of the spectrum, where he's really, really blatantly stupid. And this one is kind of in between those two. And there are some funny like fish out of water moments with him where he's like, where he doesn't understand something like a handshake, and he like shakes hands way too hard or something like that,
crushes their hands or whatever. Yeah.
But then there's just some moments where he is just too stupid for me. And I don't know if that's just not my favorite way to tell Knuckles. I still liked him overall. I thought that the voice was good. And I did like it by the end when the three of them were together and they're rushing down the street toward the giant Eggman robot. I did like all that stuff. But Knuckles, because I love Knuckles a lot in some of the games. And then in this one, he was good, but it's just not my favorite way to write that character.
Yeah, he's definitely not as stupid as some of the iterations of Knuckles have been.
Yeah.
And you can also chalk some of that up to like, oh, he's in this entirely different world. And that's kind of how he plays it, where it's all just like, I don't know what's going on. Got to protect the Chaos Emeralds. Got to find them. But yeah, there were a couple of moments where it's like, okay,
yeah,
this may be a bit much.
But Sonic and Tails were great. They were together way more of the movie than all three of them were, and I did like their dynamic a lot. There were some cool moments, like when he flies them away, and they look just like they do in the sprite in the games, was very cool. And I liked Tails in general. It is a little weird that it is just straight up Tails. Like, it is the Tails that you know. It is the voice actor that you know, and then it's just Ben Schwartz and Idris Elba as surrounding. What, Colleen?
I mean,
yeah.
O'Shaughnessy?
Yeah, I always don't know how to say the last name. But yeah,
I mean, it's nice that someone was able to reprise their roles from the game.
Yeah.
I do get where you're coming from, where it is a little bit odd that you have two, like A-list people, and then there's just like, hey, I play Tails in the video games. But I'm glad that she was in. I think she does Tails really well. That's Tails.
I agree. Yeah, it is Tails. Yeah, but I liked Tails a lot. I liked Tails making the gadgets and things like that. I thought that Tails was a good character in this one.
What did you think of how they like set Tails up? Where it's just like, I've been watching you.
Yeah.
it's a little creepy, but it's just, I've seen all your exploits. Oh my god! Like,
it's weird because it's like kind of like Tails was like a Sonic super fan, but that's what Amy's supposed to be. That is how Amy is kind of introduced in originally in like Sonic CD. Is like Amy wins some contest to be like, is she Sonic's #1 fan? And then Metal Sonic kidnaps her because she's Sonic's #1 fan. And it's like, so I wonder if we ever get around to Amy, which I feel like we will.
As long as the movies keep doing well.
Yeah, then I think that I wonder how they'll introduce her separately, because Tails kind of played that role a little bit in this one of being like, oh, I like obsessed with Sonic, knows everything about Sonic, wants to be like Sonic.
Especially
a little bit
beginning.
Different. Yeah.
I feel like as it got closer to the end, it was more of just, Sonic Tails friend type of stuff. But it definitely was like, big fan, like, I love you, I watch you when you sleep. And it's like, okay, Tails. It's
calm down, bro.
That's okay. Knuckles. So you got to it a bit. Idris Elba, was he not sexy enough for you in this movie as Knuckles?
He was sexy. Of course he was.
I mean, it was gonna fail regardless. But what'd you think of Idris Elba as Nux?
I felt like I don't want to just be totally critical of this movie. I'm gonna be honest. I like the first one more. I disagree. I thought the first one was better overall. I think that this one, just generally for a second, and then I'll talk about Knuckles. This movie had more of the Sonic stuff that the first one did lacked, but I feel like I just liked the writing and the jokes in the first one a little bit more. Eggman, who we'll have to talk about too, like his writing and humor didn't land for me nearly as much as it did in the first one. I thought he was the highlight of the first movie. I think he's a riot. He is hilarious, and then his one-liners and stuff. I don't know. They just didn't feel as funny, as fresh to me in this one as they did. And then Idris Elba, I like the voice. I think it fits. I feel like you could tell he's not a voice actor. Like, he is used to acting live action as the character. To me, this felt like Idris Elba in a studio saying the lines he was supposed to say a little bit. Like, I sometimes when these big names are cast in animated roles, you can kind of tell that they're not, which is like, we'll see. Like, I mean, Chris Pratt has done like the Lego movie, so he's done a lot of animation. He's
doing Garfield too. Is that a live action cat?
Oh my god, like the Lion King. But yeah, I felt like Idris Elba, you could, not to say he was bad, but it's like, yeah, this was just Idris Elba talking. I didn't really feel like there was much of a performance there to be Knuckles. I don't know, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, with Knuckles, it's not like he's like super over the top, so you don't have to do a ton to get that down, especially with how they portray him here, where he's kind of just like, oh, like, I gotta find, Chaos Emeralds, and he doesn't really talk too much. When he does talk, it's not even like full sentences. Sometimes it's like it is, but it kind of like cuts off really short. And I think if you were going to go for a Hollywood actor to play Knuckles, I think that Idris Elba was a solid choice. I think that that voice fits in with Knuckles as a whole much more than some of these other castings feel like, where it's like, why did you cast this person as this character? I think that Idris Elba was a solid choice for Knuckles. There were times where it's like, okay, something's a little bit off here with just that disconnect between, like, voice actors don't get enough recognition for how they play these animated characters sometimes. Like, they don't get as much recognition as the A-list celebrities that are playing in these live action movies. But, you get into some situations where you turn the tables around and they go in to do these cartoon roles and it just doesn't land quite as well. I don't think this one is necessarily terrible, but
like, I'll watch the Knuckles show. Like, he's getting his own spin-off show. I'll absolutely watch that. But yeah,
I'm hoping there's more character from him as it goes along. I think that's what I want, because I get it at the start. He's just like, oh, I don't know where I am. Like, I just got this goal in mind. But once he gets together with the crew, I'm hoping that that will kind of bring him towards a little bit more outward facing Knuckles than his character is here.
Right, I'm excited for Sonic 3, because this one was like the origin of Tails and Knuckles, like how the first one had to be the origin of Sonic. And it's like, I know these characters so well. Dude, Longclaw came back. No one expected that. What was that?
What is Longclaw?
Yeah.
Still confused.
That was funny that Longclaw came back. But yeah, I'm excited now that like Knuckles is Knuckles, where he still has this kind of other responsibility in life that the others don't, of protecting the Master Emerald on Angel Island, and also doing whatever adventures he's doing with Sonic and Tails. I think that I'm excited for Sonic 3, which will have a villain. We already know who it is. Just to see the three of them actually functioning together as a team the entire movie. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think that'll bring out more interesting dialogue in Knuckles. I think they'll play off each other well, because I think Sonic and Tails already do so well. You put Knuckles in there as part of that group, I think it'll make it even better.
Yeah.
How about the human characters? So we have this wedding storyline, and I got to be honest, when some of the twists of the wedding happen, me and my friends are just like, what is happening? who like, one, I don't really know who this dude is very well, but like, what is going on? They're like, oh, this is a sham wedding, and then all hell breaks loose at this wedding. It was bizarre in kind of a good way. Like, at least
I thought it was good.
Friends, it was wild.
I actually really liked this part of the movie. So the beginning, when Sonic opens the ring to send them to Hawaii, and he does the little bit like where he's the airline pilot, and it's cute. I'm like, oh, they're just literally shipping them off for this
out
movie.
Of the story.
Like they are done. They are gone. They are in Hawaii. And then the way it just all ties back in together, I really liked the. I mean, there's some stupid moments. There's some stupid plot moments in this movie that bug me more than I can usually suspend my disbelief and say, sure, whatever, it serves the movie, right? But there's some dumb things like when James Marsden is trying to switch the ring because he realized he messed up, and he punches him instead of just like taking or explaining.
Well, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. Me and my friends were just watching this movie, like, why doesn't he just like tell him? Like,
yeah,
he doesn't tell him at all. He's just like, I need that ring. Like, give me the ring. It's not like, hello, I have your ring. The engraving is right. is here. We have mixed them up. Here you go. Mm-hmm. That never crossed his mind.
But it's hilarious because there's like 5+ minute scenes at this wedding where there's no Sonic characters involved, and you're like, this is the Sonic movie right now. But I'm not mad about it because I feel like they did because the first movie established Sonic and his family of human characters. I feel like it's at the point where it's like, yeah, this isn't just the Sonic world, but these are the characters in this franchise now that we're kind of following. And I like them. I think they're funny. I think James Marsden's really funny in these movies. I think that his wife and their family is funny too. So I was happy that they were still a part of it. I thought the wedding scene was really funny, and the twist was nuts. That was just insane when that happened. Like, oh my God. Yeah. And then, so I really liked that part of it. I thought it was a nice kind of break from the Sonic stuff. It was a really good B plot, just this rom-com unfolding in this Sonic movie, but I thought it worked. Like, I wasn't mad at that part at all. I really liked it.
Yeah, I'm glad it went like completely off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
That twist was incredible.
Yeah,
in the weirdest way, and I like James Marsden's wife's sister. Is that?
Yep. Names.
I thought she had a good role in there, especially after the wedding went down, and that they have to go in. Gunn is here, and I thought she had some good character moments in there. But yeah, Gunn is there.
Yeah,
that's where they show up as part of this really stupid plan to have this sham wedding.
Yeah,
but I mean that's Gunn, right?
Which is a very, very tied into Shadow. Gunn and Shadow, he like works for them, so we'll see how that all goes. Yeah. But I liked all that stuff, and how it tied together was funny, and him throwing the ring and Sonic just flooding the wedding with snow was funny. Which, by the way, awesome that we had a snowboarding scene because he snowboards in a lot of games, so that was cool.
Yeah,
it's cool that was in there.
What did you think of the final fight with? Look at all those Eggman's robot.
Oh, I forgot about that line. Oh my God. I liked it. My favorite fight in the movie was the one at the Master Emeralds between Sonic and Knuckles. That was like
a good fight. Yeah.
There's a lot of really good Sonic and Knuckles fights in the comics back when they're rivals before Knuckles kind of joins the Freedom Fighters like he does in all the games. And there's some very memorable fights. And this was very reminiscent of those old Archie comic fights. I just really liked everything that was happening there. That whole scene, it was like a classic 2D Sonic level, right? With the spikes and the crumbling floors. And like, I just loved how that was the highlight of the movie for me, how that whole scene was put together. I thought was really, really good. And then Eggman showing up, infusing the emerald with himself and going crazy was cool. And then I liked the final fight. There was some cool combat references, right? Like Knuckles picks up Sonic in a ball and throws him, and like that's how you fight in Sonic Heroes, right? It's like you ball up the characters and chuck them around. So I liked seeing that. I found myself wishing they were playing the Sonic Heroes theme song. I felt like there was the perfect moment it could have kicked in, but they're just not really using music from the games. Like, man, Crush 40 should be on these soundtracks. How cool would that be? If they did a song for like one song for each movie for like the final sequence, like that'd be amazing. But I liked the fight. I was happy to see Supersonic. I was really happy to see Supersonic, and I thought he looked awesome, and that was a really cool ending.
Yeah, I was glad to see a true like Eggman robot. To kind of finish things off. I mean, I think that is the thing. I think that this movie gets better is that combination of Sonic, Tails, Knuckles.
I agree.
Eggman actually having weapons and gadgets that are in the game. It feels it feels more like you're watching a Sonic movie instead of, Sonic in this human world. I think that was one of my favorite parts about the fight is it's just like, yeah, this is, like from the games.
Yeah.
It's nice to see those, especially coming from the first movie.
Oh, I agree. The references in this movie were off the charts. And like, dude, like the three humans Eggman interacts with at the beginning, dude, their helmets are the like freaking jet, the albatross, the swallow, wave, jet, and storm. The three guys from Sonic Riders. Like their helmets are designed after those three characters. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like the tiny things that the average non-Sonic fan wouldn't even notice. It's like, wow, that's what the first movie was missing, right? This was absolutely a better Sonic movie, right? It had way cooler Sonic references. It had Super Sonic. It had the Eggman robot. It had more characters. But I can see both worlds. I think that if you're a Sonic fan, you liked this one more. If you just liked the first movie and aren't a Sonic fan, you probably liked the first one more. And I see both sides. I went with Zach and I went with my girlfriend. We went together. And Zach walked out and he's like, that one was better than the first one. And my girlfriend Zilly walked out and she was like, the first one was funnier. I liked it better. And I'm like, yeah, I'm very split on this one. I see both perspectives because I did think the first one was funnier. Like, and I have kind of another reason for that. I think that Jim Carrey was funnier in the first one because he was actually playing off humans, right? Most of his hilarious interactions are with James Marsden or with Agent Stone. In this one, it's like Jim Carrey is standing there, and then there's 3 CGI animals next to him. And the comedic timing of the scenes is just a little bit off compared to him and James Marsden just playing off each other. So, yeah, I can see both sides of it. I really liked it. I'm excited for the third one. I don't want to be too down on this movie, but the Sonic references were off the charts. I just thought the first one was a little bit funnier.
I can get the Jim Carrey stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of scenes here where it is just like, Eggman and Knuckles, or Eggman, Knuckles, and then Sonic and Tails there. He's with Agent Stone sometimes. Mm-hmm. He's there for some of those scenes.
Which, by the way, his coffee shop is called like Mean Bean or something like that. Like after Mean Bean Machine, the puzzle game. Like, dude, it's just crazy. There's so much cool stuff.
How far we've gotten from that initial disgusting Sonic model to going full on into the references and everything.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that tease at the end. So we've got Gun and we've got Shadow, Operation Shadow.
Yep.
What are you thinking for Sonic 3?
Dude, I'm excited. I'm excited it's going to be Shadow. Sometimes I just think too much about things, right? Like Zach was like, I didn't expect Shadow. I was surprised. And I'm like, I kind of guessed before we went into this thing. I'm like, Shadow's probably Sonic 3, right? They had the logo before Sonic 2 even came out. That was like, here's Sonic 3. And I'm like, that's probably Shadow or Metal Sonic. And then it was Shadow. But I'm excited about him. I thought he looked cool. A lot of people were confused because they're like, doesn't Eggman like create Shadow? And Jim Carrey's apparently done, right? They left it totally open. We didn't really talk about that. At the end, he like falls off this robot. He could be dead. He could have survived. But Jim Carrey says he's done acting. So I'm not expecting him in Sonic 3. But Shadow was like created by Gunn 50 years ago, like they kind of said in this post-credit scene. And then Eggman uses the DNA from the aliens that come in Shadow the Hedgehog to like complete him, to like bring him up to Sonic standards. So he's already been a project. He just wasn't perfected as the ultimate life form until that alien DNA came into the picture when that meteorite crashes in Shadow. I know too much about this lore. So Shadow can exist without Eggman is what I'm saying. Like a lot of people were like my sister called me and she's like, wait, but Eggman creates Shadow. It's like, yeah, they're telling it a slightly different way, which is fine if Jim Carrey is done. But are there even going to be humans in this next movie? It's going to be like just CGI animals in the real world all the time because there's going to be the main 3 and then Shadow. And that's going to be something interesting to see. How that all works out, since that was kind of my main criticism with this one. But I am excited that Shadow's here. Most of the movies have been pulling from the classic 2D games in their references and some of their like that whole level, like the Master Emerald. It's all 2D. So I'm excited that they are basically skipping all the way to Adventure 2 with Shadow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to more 3D references.
Yeah.
Because that is most of the stuff that I played. I have not played a lot of the 2D stuff. Yeah, it seems like the way they're going, it's, you know, which character are they going to introduce in the next movie, that, you know, with Tails and then Knuckles showing up. And then here we've got Shadow. It seems like, depending on how long these movies go, it's just going to be a continually expanding cast of characters that are all going to be joining into this world. So it's, you know, how far do you take it? Or do you have to like pull some characters back, you know, like, oh, this is the movie with Shadow. And then if we get to Sonic 4, if we're still rolling along Sonic 4 and 5, maybe you pull one of them back, you know, like, all right, Shadow doesn't have to be in this one, and we can introduce some other characters instead, because you could get to a point where maybe it's a little bit too bloated with all the Sonic characters going all at once.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting how you tell a Shadow story without Eggman, because most of Shadow's main motivation is first serving Eggman and then destroying Eggman. So it's like, in a Sonic franchise without him, I'm not real. Maybe they just like make that gun dude like the one that's controlling him. And
I mean, we already got that kind of with Knuckles, kind of.
Yeah, I know, right? Knuckles was very Shadow-like in this movie, so I don't really know what they're going to do with him. I think it's going to be interesting to see where the plot goes. But yeah, if it's like, I bet Shadow will be a main character in 3 and then not in 4, because he usually like goes off on his own to be edgy elsewhere and just pops up when they need him. So yeah, I bet he'll just be the main one in this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I'm excited about it. I love Shadow. I'm most curious who's going to voice him. Yeah. Who's going to voice Shadow? I told Zach someone that I wanted to voice Shadow, but now I don't remember who I picked. Yeah, I don't remember
Chris
who
Pratt.
I picked anymore. Not Chris Pratt. Yeah. Yeah, but we'll see who voices Shadow.
Yeah, I don't know who would.
Christian Bale. Do his Batman growly voice as Shadow.
It's just Batman in Shadow. I mean,
I wouldn't hate it.
That is kind of what Shadow goes for. It's just kind of like, oh
yeah,
I'm Shadow.
And you should do it. You should do it.
Oh, all right. I'm Shadow. Yeah. I mean, you just have. I could see Christian Bale doing that.
Yeah. Okay, that's my pick. That's my official pick. It's Christian Bale. He already sold out to Marvel. Why not go and do?
Sell out to Sonic?
Yeah, go into a Sonic movie. Yeah.
Do us all a solid here, please. Overall, final thoughts on Sonic 2 and the series as a whole as we head into Sonic 3.
I like it. I liked it a lot. I couldn't be happier with this little universe we had, right? I think the problem always is like with The Last of Us, it's just going to be a straight retelling of the game, and it's like, who really needs that? But then some video game movies stray way too far from the source, and you're like, this isn't even really close to the thing I like. But I think the Sonic franchise as a whole is perfectly walking that line of, they took the first movie to just kind of throw Sonic in this world and introduce these characters, and then in Sonic 2 they inject Sonic references straight into the veins, right? So now they have the established Sonic characters in this world, along with their own characters that give it its own flavor, where it's like, yeah, you're only getting this in the movies, right? So I think it's a really nice balance where it's like, yeah, this feels warranted, right? This is its own franchise that I care about following, separate from the comics, which I read, and separate from the games, which I play, and separate from this show coming up this winter, which I will watch, right? I consume everything Sonic that exists. So yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm excited about the Knuckles show, excited about Shadow, and I liked this movie a lot. I need to see it again because I only saw it the one time in theaters, so
it's been a while
to watch. Yeah. But how about you? Where are you at on this kind of sub franchise of Sonic as a whole?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Like I said before, I think I like this one more than the first one. I get some of the humor didn't land as much, but I think for me and the experience that I wanted to have, I think that having the entire cast of the 3 characters of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all together for that movie kind of brought it up to another level that first one didn't quite reach, in terms of just feeling like a Sonic movie instead of, a kid's movie with Sonic in there. I'm curious where it goes from here, what they do with all of these different characters and where the human characters go from here, because obviously they had a bigger influence in the first movie because it is just Sonic and everybody else is the human characters. But I liked what they did with them in this one. I liked how it did tie in. some of the stuff was just absolutely wild. And I feel like you're probably going to have to lean into that a little bit more because
Yeah.
you're going to be dropping in more and more Sonic characters. It's going to be harder to have all of those characters on screen at all times. Like if you want to dump in Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, and then have the human characters there, and then maybe Eggman is there as the antagonist in the scene, like I feel like that could get really cluttered.
Yeah, what if you get to the point where you have like the A plot is like Sonic and Tails are fighting Shadow, and then the B plot is like Knuckles and James Marsden are doing something. Like, what if you start to mix and match the CGI character, like the Sonic characters, with the human characters within your A and B plots? That could be fun, because I don't think it needs to be like Sonic plot, human plot every time, because that would just start to feel the same. So if it was like, oh, they're going off and doing this thing while Sonic and Knuckles are doing this, like that could be super funny, and just see how these, because there's a lot of different like dynamics and relationships at play. So I think
a lot that we haven't seen before. I think that would be a good way to keep things fresh, especially if you are dumping in a bunch of different new characters from Sonic, because then you can have them interact with these human characters, and then that can be a different dynamic from Knuckles to Shadow to Tails to that group. Be curious what happens with Eggman.
I think he's done.
I mean, from the interviews that it said, it wasn't like they have completely written it off. Like it's not like this is a foregone conclusion that he is not in it, but at the same time, I feel like there is at least a 50-50 shot that he's not in this. It's like, okay, how does that movie feel without Eggman?
Yeah, because he's so good. He's really good as Eggman. God, what like perfect casting. I felt like,
and you're not going to be able to recast him. So if Jim Carrey does not come back, then Eggman does not come back.
Yeah,
and I could see that working for a movie, because villains will change up from time to time. But if they have plans for more and more movies after this third one, I feel like that would get harder with each movie to not have Eggman in any of them. Yeah. One movie I think they can pull off fine. But if he's done after this and they want to keep going 3, 4, 5, whatever, I think that could become a bigger struggle.
I agree. He is the highlight of these movies. I think he's just the perfect Eggman. He's hilarious, and he nailed the laugh in this new one. The scene of him like making the mushroom soup at the start when he's stranded, it's really funny, very Eggman. Like, yeah, it's tough. I wish we could have gotten a couple more Sonic movies from him before he retired from acting, right? Like, it's not like, oh, I'm done with this character. He's like, I'm done acting. We'll see if that's true. We'll see if they can't pull him back to do one more of these. Yeah.
Who do we bring in as the villain? We ripping Zavok? Zavok rolling?
Oh my god. You have gone too far if you get to Zavok. Oh my gosh.
Who's next up?
I want to see them do Chaos.
Chaos, because you've got Gun. Gun is kind of an antagonist, and then you could pair them up with other Sonic villains. Yeah, they could roll with Chaos.
I'll say it right now. I would not be surprised if that is Sonic 3. Similar to how Sonic 2 is Knuckles is the villain for the first half. Oh, and then it's Eggman. I would not be surprised if they like kind of smush together Adventure 1 and Adventure 2, and Sonic and Shadow end up working together to fight Chaos at the end. I'm just going to say I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's got to be cool there at some point. Yeah.
And like Metal Sonic, you can have Shadow without Eggman. You cannot have Metal Sonic without Eggman. So it's like, are we just never going to get Metal Sonic?
Unless they're going to go so far as to completely rewrite who made him.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it depends on how desperate they get. Yeah. Like, if we are at the point where Jim Carrey is not coming back.
What if Agent Stone becomes the villain? What if he takes over like Eggman's thing?
That could be interesting.
I like Agent Stone. I think he's really funny. I don't know if I see him in that big bad role, because he's kind of just like a subservient minion. It's like with Eggman out of the picture, I feel like he would just run his coffee shop and be happy. But if they take it that direction and he becomes the villain.
At the end of the movie, you have Agent Stone who disguised himself as one of the gun people. So with or without Eggman, he was doing something there.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's him. Maybe he's the big human bad for the next few movies.
I guess
maybe he makes Metal Sonic.
Because I'm in the same boat. I like Agent Stone.
Insane.
I think that he plays off Eggman really well.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you take that character who's great as a side character and thrust them into a main role, sometimes that completely blows up in your face.
I know, God, that it just sucks because the Sonic Eggman dynamic is so good. The Stone Eggman dynamic is good. The Tom, there it is, Tom Wachowski egg dynamic was really good in the first one, and it's like you pull him out of the picture, these movies aren't as good. So we'll see. I loved having Jim Carrey there to kind of anchor that cast and be that force that he was in those. Yeah. I'm glad he took that role before he retired, because that is a gift I did not know I needed, was Jim Carrey as Eggman.
It worked. I hope he comes back. I hope that something changes within him and he's like, man, I love Sonic. I'm going to come back and do these movies.
But only these. That's all I do anymore.
That would be on another level legendary, where Jim Carrey has pseudo-retired from everything but the Sonic movies.
But Eggman, yeah. Yeah. Last thing I'll say about this movie, I liked that the last scene was of them playing baseball, because the first scene when Sonic wishes he had friends in the first movie is him at the baseball diamond when he has to play by himself, and then now he has like these two alien friends and his parents, I guess. He's got
parents.
Okay, what did you we didn't talk about this moment. What did you think about the big last moment where he calls James Marsden dad? What did you think of that?
Is that when they were in the boat?
No, that was at the end of the movie at the baseball field. And he's like, thanks, dad, or something like that. Or I love you, dad. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it's when they're done playing baseball and they're heading back. And he calls him dad, like the last 2 minutes of the movie.
I guess it didn't leave much of an impression on me. I mean,
I was like, I don't know if I needed that.
I guess for me, it was already kind of assumed. Like, there are so many scenes where Sonic plays the role of kind of the crazy child in the house, like whether that's, like going out and, I've put up this machine that, says like, I'm still here. And then, James Marsden's like, nope. Then like, I don't know. It already felt like there was a parent son dynamic there. Maybe I didn't need to fully have it on display there, like where he's like fully saying it. But I think also with that boat scene, that even more solidified it. Like, what's more father son than going out on the rowboat in the middle of the lake and going fishing, just the two of you? Like, that already gave me very heavy father son dynamic, and that worked fine. So maybe not lean into it that hard where he's just like calling dad or something all the time. But
I also hope that James Marsden and co continues to be in these movies too, because I felt like there was question, would they be in the sequel, and they were very big in the sequel, and I just hope that whole group carries on into the next movies, because they're great.
I think the cast works really well.
Sonic
I don't want it to get really good Sonic characters. Yeah, solid movie, solid romp, and I'm looking forward to what's next. Again, they're not gonna transcend movies. They're not gonna blow you away. But whether or not you're a Sonic fan, I think you would enjoy both of these movies. And if you are a Sonic fan, I think
you will love 2.
2 is gonna be great.
And if you're a Sonic fan, you've no doubt seen it because it came out 6 months ago.
Yep, we're finally getting to it. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this Spoilercast and show?
Frontiers, baby. It's a good time to be a Sonic fan. Hopefully.
For now.
It could all come crashing down. We're so close to that game. Like, it's October next week.
That's weird to think about. Yeah. We're almost within a month.
We're like 40 days away from Sonic Frontiers.
Kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nothing. We're going to be there before you know it.
Yeah, just be busy. You'll be busy playing Xenoblade, and then, here it is.
Yeah, here it is.
Oh, God.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I hope it's good.
Me too.
I don't know what they do if this one flops hard. Because this was them trying to do something really new, and if it flops, oh, God.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Like Legends Arceus, not perfect. Cool new concept, fun to play. If that's what this is, if it's a little rough around the edges, I don't care. But if the proof of concept is there, I will be happy with this one to see then what they do with the next one.
Yeah, as long as this game is fun enough to
and functional
warrant
enough.
fun and functional enough to warrant a playthrough of this one that also gives you more hype for the next one, I feel like is what this game needs to do.
Yep.
And that's going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode to Games. We're here on Thursdays or Fridays, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other podcast streaming services that you may use. YouTube at Ode to Games has the video version of the podcast every week as well. We're on Twitter at Ode to Games. You can send an email to odegamescast@gmail.com. For Logan, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.